Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of Expedition Dogman. My name's Jamie, and I will be your host for this evening. Just before we do start, I've noticed that over 65% of you are still not subscribed to the channel, so please hit that subscribe button and also the little notification bell so you can be notified when the next episode is due to air. Anyway, on to tonight's topic. Dogmen, are they interdimensional creatures? Well, to answer this one, we first need to look back at a previous video I made about dogmen being aliens. Well, do I truly think they're aliens? No. But, in purposes of the topic tonight, we need to look further into the cryptid world. We can't just look at dogmen. So, the other cryptid I wish to talk to you about is Bigfoot. Some believe that Bigfoot are interdimensional creatures, that they can turn into balls of orbs and lights and disappear at will. Sometimes, in certain reports, we're seeing that dogmen can do the same thing, that they can be there 1 minute and gone the next, and they're having human speed. Well, what if they was doing something quite extraordinary? What about if they're travelling through dimensions? What I mean by this is, if we look at the planet Earth, certain theorists believe that there is wormholes that connect all over the planet, and certain creatures like the Yeti, Bigfoot, and Dogman can travel through them. Is this plausible? Is this how they're getting around the world? How they can be gone 1 minute and they're the next, and vice versa? It's plausible, but many people do also believe that the Dogman is a flesh and blood creature, and that these things cannot be interdimensional. Others believe, and if we look at the Native Americans for proof of this, that the dogmen guard the cemeteries, and as every paranormal researcher knows, within the graveyards, one, it's a paranormal hotspot, and two, generally you find portals, because this is where the dead travel from the world. So, it also begs the question, are dogmen guardians of the graveyards? Are they guardians of the portals? Well, the Native Americans do believe they are, because certain legends surrounding the dogman, in the Native American sense, state that these creatures are found wherever there is a graveyard. Let's look at the Beast of Bray Road for an example of this. There is evidence suggesting that the Beast of Bray Road is spotted mainly around the Native American gravestones and also the graveyards. So, is this how the dogmen travel? They could travel from one graveyard to the next. It's plausible, but I don't think it's a true theory as to what they're doing. I do believe, due to the fact of their cloaking nature, and also, as we discussed in Dogman, a real life predator, how they cloak in trees and like to hide in trees. Again, trees fully connected to nature, and in certain respects, these trees do have portals in them. How do you think the fairy folk are getting around? I think, realistically, when we look at this particular topic, we cannot rule out that all cryptids share similar traits to one another, and it is because of this reason that the Dogman is a very interesting creature. So, moving onwards, let's look at it through the interdimensional theory. Some believe, like I've already previously stated, that this creature is using portals to get around. But if we look at the flesh and blood aspect of it, these creatures live in clans, they're very intelligent, they're an apex predator. And usually people say when there's one dogman around, there is others. This is why I lean away from the interdimensional theory. I don't truly believe that these creatures are actually aliens. And when it comes to the supernatural side of it, yes, we can say they're supernatural for a certain reason, and that's because we don't know too much about them. And as any good scientist will tell you, anything that we cannot explain falls into the unexplained category and the paranormal. And also, when it comes to interdimensions, we don't fully understand that as a species. Do I think that the dogman is more highly developed than humans? In certain respects, yes, I do. And this is why I do believe that these creatures are more into the supernatural side of things, even though they are real life creatures, because we don't fully understand them. And it goes back to what I was saying many months ago about the Dogman being an apex predator and how we're scared of it. And when we do, we go into fight or flight mode. And this is why it's very difficult to get true information and facts and figures on this creature. But if we look at Skinwalker Ranch as well, on the interdimensional portal theory, there is notes of skinwalkers and dogmen being spotted on Skinwalker Ranch. And we'll look at that in coming weeks, when hopefully we will be talking to Cisco again about the Skinwalker. So, moving onwards, do I truly believe that these creatures can travel through portals? I think until true evidence comes out to state true or false on this one, it's up to you lot to decide on it. But certainly Bigfoot has the ability to do it, and if we also look at the fact that Dogman and Bigfoot have been around since the beginning of time and are actually the true native species of this planet, it's highly plausible, like I said in Dogman or Aliens. Please do check that out. I will link that video at the end, that the Anunnaki have been involved in them. I know I might get some dislikes for this, but I truly don't believe that the Dogman is capable of interdimensional travel. But on the opposite side of it, we cannot rule it out. We cannot just say, oh yeah, it's this or that. True research needs to be done. And that's what we're all about here at Expedition Dogman. To talk and to also go out there to try and myth bust, if you like, the true facts and figures of what a Dogman is. So, I'd be interested to hear your opinion on this in the comments below. If I share this to Facebook, don't comment on there. Leave the comments on this channel, because in weeks to come, once we get enough comments and questions, I'll do a live stream to explain it all to the best of my knowledge, and anything I can, we will try and get special guests on. So please, I do appreciate everybody who's subscribed so far, and for those of you that haven't, please consider giving this a like, a comment, and a subscription. But please tell me what you think in the comments down below. And until next time, be aware. Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of Expedition Dogman. My name's Jamie, and I'll be your host for this evening. Tonight, Dogmen. Do they nest? Well, just before we start, a little bit of admin. I've noticed that over 50% of you are still not subscribed to this channel, so do me a teeny tiny favour and just click that little subscription button and hit the notifications so you can be notified when the next episode is going to air. Anyway, back to tonight's topic. Do Dogmen nest? Well, we've been sent some images from a guy called Dave from Texas. He's also got a YouTube channel called Dude from Texas. I will leave that link in the description down below. So a massive shout out to him for giving us the images of tonight's episode. Back to the topic at hand. Do Dogmen nest? Well, there's certain beliefs within the cryptid community that Dogmen nest, whereas others believe they live in trees. There is also reports out there that Dogmen will take refuge in barns and anywhere they can get shelter. Well, what do I think of all of this? Personally, I think it's a mixture of both. As we know from what Cisco said and from what Lieutenant has said, and many other researchers, that Dogmen do like to live in the trees, and this is due to their apex predator traits. They enjoy to live in trees so they can watch what they're doing. If we think back to what we learned in The Hunt of the Old Stinker, which was the first video that this YouTube channel ever had, the Dogman was sat in the tree. They do this, they can get the vantage point. As we know, they are hyper intelligent creatures, very astute to their surroundings, and they like to get the upper hand and the upper levels, literally, in order to watch what others are doing. Do they nest? Well, again, I refer you back to The Hunt for the Old Stinker I'll leave a link down in the description below so you can watch that one at your leisure, where we actually found a nest. And this, to me, makes them very similar to the cryptid known as Bigfoot. As we all know, Bigfoot likes to nest. And I think in certain situations, dogmen do the same thing, especially when they're trying to raise pups. But furthermore, what about these reports? The reports of them living in barns. Well, like any animal, I suppose, they do get cold, as we do. And if they're passing through an area, surely they will take refuge. It seems weird to me that they can inhabit anywhere, but why have they found more in the countryside? Well, it goes back to what we was talking about in Werewolves Are Not What You Think. Why would they want to approach human society? Yes, as we all know, they are found not only in the countryside but in cities, but you'll find, especially as I pointed out on Dogman sightings, there is more instances in the woods, the countryside, than there is in cities. I think basically, where the built up areas are concerned, these creatures are literally just passing through, and they're not here to bother us. Well, not in our natural habitat anyway. It's when we step on their turf that is where most of the issues lie. But again, why would they nest? Why would they want to hide in trees? Well, the answer is simple. They like their creature comforts. They are creatures of the wild. Personally, I don't believe in an interdimensional theory. I do believe they are actually flesh and blood, as I've stated on many a times on this channel. And like any animal, like bears, wolves, etc., they're stay out of the way of humans because they know how dangerous we are. Even though, saying that, we're not actually top of the food chain, these creatures are, because at the end of the day, they will happily kill any humans. So, as we're talking, the images are scrolling by, and I think this is quite conclusive to the fact that once again, we know they love trees. But I do think, pardon me, I do think personally there is similarities to Bigfoot and Dogman. And next week we will have a look at Dogman versus Bigfoot and the reports coming out that Dogman and Bigfoot are squabbling. But for now, I leave this with you. And please do enjoy the images above and do share this channel out to your friends because the more views we get, the more up we get on YouTube's algorithm, and that way we can reach many more people and show them the truth of this cryptid. And I do think personally the truth needs to get out there as to what Dogman truly is. So, until the next time, please. Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of Expedition Dogman. My name's Jamie, and I will be your host for this evening. Just before we do start, please hit that subscription button. Also like and share this video with your friends. I've noticed that over 73% of you are still not subscribing to this channel, so please do subscribe. And also hit that little notification bell before the next episode is due, as this will allow you to know when the next episode is actually due to air. Now, anyway, now that admin's out the way, on to tonight's episode. Dogman versus Bigfoot. Well, there's been certain reports in the cryptid community recently about Dogmen and Bigfoot fighting each other. Do I believe this to be the case? Well, yes. And the answer to this one is slightly complicated, so we need to small scale this back down a bit to normal sized creatures and their behavioural patterns. Then we will gigantamize it to what's truly going on. Anyway, moving onwards, let's move this down a little bit. On one hand, you have wolves. On the other hand, you have apes. And the apes, which is like your chimpanzees and whatnot, they live in little clans together. And they generally have a hierarchy going on as to how they live. Like, when a new male enters a chimpanzee pack, the alpha male will fight the newcomer in order to sort out the hierarchy. Wolves are not very dissimilar to this. They also live in packs, and they hunt as one. Now, do they fight when a new member is added? Yes. Like any creature, they like to sort out a hierarchy. So, within this reason, you have wolves, you have apes, and that is the one thing they share in common with each other. Now, what would happen if a wolf and an ape started fighting each other? 9 times out of 10, this will not be a one-on-one fight. Generally, what you'll find is that the wolves will fight as a clan, and the apes will do like so, because it's brother for brother. So, if we look first of all at dogmen, as we know, dogmen live in clans, and usually the one dogman we see is not the one we need to be scared of. What we need to be scared of is the dogmen that are in the surrounding area. Now, also Bigfoot, they also live in clans. I want to point out Expedition Bigfoot for a prime example of Bigfoot behavioural patterns of how you see one, there is others in the area. Now, do the government know about this? I don't want to go into too much detail about this because we'll be covering the governmental cover-up in the next couple of weeks. It probably won't be next week as we'll be looking at dogman behavioural patterns, but more than likely it'll be the week after. So, moving onwards, what would happen if Dogman and Bigfoot started fighting each other? What you'd find is one Dogman would present itself first of all. Yes, this won't be a one-on-one fight because the other Dogmen would be acting like the pack. They would be in the surrounding area in case the fighting got bad. The same would go for Bigfoot. One Bigfoot would probably step forward, but you can guarantee there would be others in the area. As the fight ensues, what you would probably find would happen is the Dogman and the Bigfoot would start tearing chunks out of each other. And if the fighting got too bad, then more from either side would turn in, and help out. So what you'd actually find is a massive skirmish on your hands. But as we know, this problem is mainly happening in America. But surely this isn't good for the national parks of America, where these creatures generally live. Because as Cisco said in our live stream, the national parks are a main source of income for the United States of America. So what do the government do? They cover it up. The CIA get involved, but I'll go into detail more on that at a later date, because I do find that truly interesting, and I need to do a little bit more digging before I can produce the facts for that one. So anyway, who do you think would honestly win between the Dogman and the Bigfoot? For me, obviously, being Expedition Dogman, I'm Team Dogman all the way. Because we all know that, yes, Bigfoot are massive in size, but there's more Dogmen. And there'll be more around. You can bet your bottom dollar on that. But, honestly, who do you honestly believe would win? Please do leave your comments down in the comment section below. And let's have a discussion about what would truly happen. I'd be interested to see your thoughts and feelings on this particular matter. Anyway, until next time, my furry friends, be aware of what goes bump in the night, and please do be aware of the howl. And welcome to tonight's episode of Expedition Dogman. My name's Jamie, and I will be your host for this evening. Just a little bit of admin before we get underway. Please do subscribe to this channel, as I've noticed that over 75% of you are still not subscribed. So, in order to help us reach more people and to get the truth out there, please do subscribe and like and share this video to your friends and family. Also, do me a tiny favour and hit the little icon, the little bell one, in order to be notified when our next episode is due to air. Anyway, now that admin is out the road, let's move on to tonight's episode. I've taken far too much of your time already. So tonight's episode, Dogmen and their behaviours and traits. To be honest, this one's been brewing for a while, because throughout the course of what we've been learning so far, we have sort of discussed the behavioural traits of a dogman. Anyway, first things first, if you are going looking for these creatures, whatever you do, don't go looking for them alone. Because if you do, you can be sure not anything good will come of this. I would recommend if you're going looking for a dogman, at least go in pairs. Because the thing is, the first behavioural trait that a dogman has is one, they are hyper intelligent. Their intelligence is actually better than humans. Two, these creatures are apex predators. They're up there at the top of the food chain. There's not many things that would really want to eat a dogman, is there? But let's step back a bit. Where does their hyper-intelligence come from? Why is it we only ever see one dogman when we know there is others around? This goes back to the wolf pack mentality. They are known to live in packs, as we discussed in the last episode, and usually one will go ahead as the other. Of the others, there has been reports talking about this again on other channels, and as everyone keeps saying, these creatures live in packs. One tends to go ahead of the other, and if anything bad happens, the others come running forward. Now, why would they do this? Well, like we just said, it's a pack mentality. But what sets these creatures apart from wolves is the fact they are hyper intelligent. Furthermore, why do they like to go in trees? Normal wolves don't do this, but because of the design of these creatures, they tend to live in trees. They can climb due to the fact they can walk around on their hind legs. And like we mentioned before, way back when we started, these creatures like to get a view of what's going on around them. And this, to be honest with you, is a hunter's skill. We talked about this in Dogman, Real Life Predator. Please do check that one out if you do have the time. Now, they like to get the view of what's going on, so that way they can be alert and aware of humans. Another reason, why do they talk to us? How can they? Well, there's theories out there saying that they can talk mentally to us, and by this I mean they talk telepathically. They can tell us how they're feeling, what they're up to, and whether we're in for a bad time or not. Talking about bad time, well, are they as vicious as the reports say? To be quite honest, I'm really on the fence about this one. Yes, like any creature, they are wild. They live in the wild. And to be honest, if we step on their territory, they're going to make sure we get us off it. Whether that's by scaring us or whatever. Moving on. Now, this main problem is found in America, and I would not recommend shooting at these things. Because the thing is, they are very hard to kill, and to pardon my French, you are more likely just to piss it off. To be honest, if you shoot a creature at point blank range, you're not going to kill it. Due to the fact the gun does not have the velocity to hit its target, to kill. And if you shot it from a distance, you get more velocity behind it, but you'd have to be a very good shot. Because from what the reports are saying, especially more frequently at the moment, there is certain types of dogmen out there that only have one weak spot, and that is the sides. Because for some reason, it's similar to how Bigfoot is. They have matted armoured fur on the front and the back, and that's why when you shoot a dogman in the chest, it's just going to laugh at you. And to be honest, you're going to piss it off and it's going to attack. Now, as we all know, dogmen attacks are 1% of the world's kills. It's like saying you've got a 1,000,000 to 1 chance of one, encountering these, and two, being killed by one. But as well, as we've just been talking about, going into their territory, why are they being seen in the cities? Well, as we all know, dogmen are not just found in America, they're found all over the world. Please refer back to dogman sightings. Now, why do they appear in the city? Personally, I think they're just travelling through. But I also do believe we are stepping on their natural habitats. Because as a species, we're very much like locusts. We're consuming this planet. And our cities are growing larger and larger. And as we know with deforestation in rainforests, etc., and even in the national parks in America, we're taking their home away from them and expanding our cities into them. And this is why I personally believe we're seeing more of them within the city boundaries. Now, what is their eating habits like? Well, a German Shepherd is normally a very tasty snack to a dogman, and they will consume these as they're passing through. Some might even take residence in the city, as long as you've got three important things actually. One, a reasonable food source. Two, if a river or a canal or anything like that, and even a little wooded area for shelter, is present within a city, you have a very good chance of finding the dogman. You're more likely, as we all know, to find them in the wildernesses and in the woods. But why would you find them in the UK? Is our country as big as America? No. But we still have certain wilderness spots within this country where these creatures can easily hide. And again, as we all know, when you see one dogman, then you can bet your bottom dollar there is more of them around. I just want to take your attention to the beast of not the beast of Bray Road, the beast of Barmston Drain. As we know, it's called Old Stinker. Many believe that is a spectre of an old wolf from years gone by. I personally don't believe this. I believe that is actually a dogman, and that, as with any dogmen, there is others around. There is more than one. And personally, on the Beast of Barmston Drain, I don't just think it was one dogman causing the issue. I think there is more of them on the East Yorkshire coast. But what do you think of that? Anyway, moving on. Why do they give us that sense of dread? Why do they give us that awful dog smell, as Cisco alluded to when we talked to him? Well, to be honest, I'm not 100% sure as to why they do this, but they are guardians. As we know, Bigfoot are the guardians of the forest. Dogmen are the guardians of the passageways. What I mean by that, and this sort of does fit into the interdimensional theory, but not fully. It depends on your beliefs, really, this bit. But Native Americans, as I talked to a Native American dogman, they are found near cemeteries. Why would they hide there? One, tree lines. Generally, most graveyards are covered in trees. Two, as we know, Anubis, as we talked about in Dogman Origins, is basically a dogman, and he was the guardian of the underworld. Personally, I don't understand fully why they like cemeteries, but each to their own on that one, I suspect. But yeah, do not piss a dogman off, because it could well be the last thing you do. So, what do you think of these theories and these traits and behaviours? If you know of any others, please do let me know in the comment section below. Next week, we will be talking about the government, so be prepared. It might sound like a conspiracy theory episode next week, but it's not. There is more truth to this than you think. So please do keep an open mind. And until next time, my fairy friends, be aware of what goes bump in the night. And please do be aware of the howl. Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of Expedition Dogman. My name's Jamie, and I'll be your host for this evening. Just a little bit of admin. I do appreciate everybody who has subscribed, but I have noticed that over 70% are still not subscribing to this channel. So please do like, subscribe, and share this video with your friends, as we want to get this channel out to as many people as possible, so that way they can know exactly what a dogman truly is, and that way they can be prepared if they ever do meet one. Anyway, now that the admin's out of the road, tonight's episode. I did mention last week that tonight's episode was going to be a little bit of a conspiracy video, Also, it will appear in many of your eyes. I did mention over the past few weeks about the government, especially about the US government, in fact. So tonight's episode, the government cover-up. Well, let's begin. I have had some information sent for me from a person called Lieutenant. He has mentioned that the US government and the CIA are all in on this. He goes on to mention about how they're super soldiers and that they've been implemented with tracking devices. Apparently, this came from a close friend of his who has ties with the government, and they're also interested in cloaking. Well, we've talked about cloaking before in Dogman, Real Life Predator, how these creatures have the ability to form into their environment. It's something to do with their fur. It's interesting. And he does go on to mention how those that don't comply are sent to live in the national forests. And the other channels have been covering this over the past few weeks, and they have been mentioning to the facts that people are going missing in the parks every year, and these are put down as unexplained, and people don't know what's been taking them, or do they? Personally, I think they do. They're not going to go out and say, "Oh, there's a dog man running around our forest. Come and have a look." Same with Bigfoot. Yes, I know I said this was going to be a channel dedicated to Dogman, but Bigfoot does have to have a few little mentions here and there, so please bear with. Anyway, going back to what I was saying, Dogman has their own territory, so does Bigfoot. Now, they both sometimes do share national parks, and this alone is covered up by the government. They know exactly where these dogmen are, they know what they are, they know literally everything about them. I've mentioned this before about Expedition Bigfoot, to the fact that when they did get to Washington National Park, that is, there was greeted even by helicopters flying overhead, and they got onto talking to Ben from Paranormal Fact or Fate, and he mentioned that the US government indeed knows about Bigfoot. So the question then remains, do they know about Dogman? Well, yes. If they know about Bigfoot and to where Bigfoot is, then it's exactly the same as Dogman. Jeff Cunaldy, I think I'm pronouncing his name right, I'm not sure. He runs a successful little YouTube channel, and he's been talking to somebody called Victor. Now, Victor is a CIA operative, and he has mentioned that dogmen are being taken to the places like Afghanistan. To me, it seems a bit far-fetched that the government are using them, but I must state that I truly, honestly do believe that these creatures are known by the government, whether they're tracking them or not. I'm not entirely a believer on that one, but the reason why the national parks don't want the truth coming out is the fact that they gain so much money through tourism, and that's how they make their living. Now, if the truth came out that a dogman was roaming around, people wouldn't want to go, and this in turn would lose their money. The problem, again, with this world at the moment, it's very money orientated. They don't want any truths to come out if it affects their profit margin, and this is the problem we find. It's the reason why research isn't done, because people don't want to talk about it. I've mentioned it before in Werewolves Are Not What You Think. I'll link that video in the description channel below, and also at the end, so please do keep watching. And please do remember to like and subscribe. Anyway, moving on. I mentioned in Werewolves Are Not What You Think how the human brain doesn't want to process the fact that it's seen a creature like this, and that is why not as much is known about them. There's me and a fair few others that are on the ground trying to get the information, so that way we can bring it to you. So please, please do like and subscribe. Anyway, why don't other people talk about them? Well, it's human brains. They don't want to accept the unknown, and the government is certainly not helping matters. Recently, we've had a lot of UFO disclosures, but also during a pandemic. I do hope you're all keeping safe and well, by the way. But will they ever truly disclose Dogman? Will they ever truly disclose what is going on out there? I'd like to say they would, but we can never be too sure in this day and age. Apparently, by 2026, there is going to be a massive paranormal disclosure, so we can only hope and pray. Anyway, comment down in the comment section below. Do you think the government know about these creatures? And until next time, my fairy friends, be aware of the howl. Hello, and welcome to tonight's episode of Expedition Dogman. My name's Jamie, and I'll be your host for this evening. Just a couple of little bits of admin before we get underway. I'd like to ask you to please comment, subscribe, and please like and share this video. I do appreciate everybody who's subscribed so far, so thank you very much. But please, I've noticed that over 73% of you are still not subscribed to the channel. So if you like this content and want it to keep going, do me a favour and just hit that little like button, also the subscription button, and also a notification bell, as this will allow you to know when the video is uploaded. Anyway, now that I've taken far too much of your time up, let's get on with tonight's episode. A couple of weeks back, we talked about the traits and the behaviours of a dogman. There was a few little bits that I missed out, so I thought, well, why not? Let's quickly talk about these tonight. The first one, it's a strange one, this one. What attracts a dogman to the spots where they turn up? Well, people have mentioned that they're attracted to cologne, tobacco, and all weird, strange smells. And why is this? Well, for me personally, we need to look at the alpha male apex predator side of the dogman. They are drawn in to smells. It's how they function. They use their noses for a hell of a lot of things. All we have to do really is look at the case of the LBL. I'm not going to go into a great detail on this one, because just before Christmas we will cover this particular topic. Now, why are they drawn in by cologne and smells? Well, like I've already mentioned, it's the alpha male instinct, and it's sort of a sexual thing if you think about it. As humans, we are drawn in by the smell of aftershave, the smell of antiperspirants, things like that. It's how we find mates. Now, with a dogman, it works totally the opposite way round. They are not interested in mating with us, thankfully, but they are very much interested in eating us, and to smell cologne, tobacco, and things like that, they would find us a threat. And this is why they generally chase us off, or in some cases, they kill. Now, another thing I missed out was the fact of the matter, why do they hide in trees? Well, it's so they can spot surrounding areas. Also, why do they like to chase us? Well, as we've already mentioned, they're very territorial creatures. And if we implement ourselves onto their territory, then they're going to defend it. But is it a case of we're interfering with their way of life, or are they just trying to keep out of our way? Only time will tell on that one, I suppose. But as well, they are very much like normal wolves. They live in packs. So this moves me on to our second point of the evening. Do they live in clans? Well, yes, they do. They generally travel in clans, and it's not the first dogman that you see that you have to worry about. It's others. There is always others around, and they hunt us in packs. I keep referring to us as humans, because that's exactly what they like to hunt. But why? Well, we mentioned this in Dogman Government Cover-Up. Please do check that out if you've got the time. But they like to hunt us. They see us as a threat to their existence. As we know, humans are very gun-happy creatures. It's horrible to think, but we are. So they travel in clans, and I think that aspect is similar to how a normal wolf behaves. It's safety in numbers. They rise and they act as one. There is many incidents and many reports out there of how dogmen like to travel in packs, and when they're hunting or chasing people off, there's usually more than one of them. As we all know, and as we have talked about on many different occasions on this channel, they are very super smart creatures and they are very hyper intelligent. But the question is, do they remember? Do they remember the people who shoot them? There is many people who would suggest that yes, this is the case, and they will actually seek out the people who've wronged them and hunt them down. I'm not 100% sure on this one. A little bit more research needs to be done on that. But there is evidence out there to suggest that this is the case. And to be honest, it's quite terrifying to think that it actually is the case. Moving forward, juvenile dogmen. I haven't brought this up as of yet, but I feel this does need to be addressed. It goes back to the point we've been making for time and time and time again on Expedition Dogmen, that these creatures are flesh and blood. Well, I do believe that to be the case, because otherwise, how could they have survived since the dawn of time unless they are breeding? Do they have specific grounds? Well, yeah, they actually do. Because if we go back to what Sisko said, it's a case of they migrate, they travel, and places like the LBL are breeding grounds for these creatures. And there is many reports out there stating to the fact that there is pups and juvenile dogmen walking around. But I'd be interested to hear what you think on that one. I'm sorry it's a short episode tonight, but I thought these few last points needed covering to tie up their traits and behaviours. And if any of you lot can think of any more traits and behaviours that these creatures have, please do share them in the comment section down below. And until next time, my fairy friends, be aware of what goes bump in the night and be aware of the howl.